Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new episode of the Issa Show. Thank you so much for the support in the last episode. And we have a new special guest. She is based in Dubai. She works at the Gig Lab. She connects startups with top talents, and she supports hiring for startups. She leads sponsorships for global tech events. Her background is in journalism and community building. She has seen it all. She worked with over 1,000 candidates. She worked with over 300 sponsors and attended a lot of events. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Emma DARCY. Emma, hello. Emma, hello. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being open to the podcast idea.
Yeah, well, I hope to get on lots of them as I become more and more fantastic.
Yeah. Emma, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot on your timeline on LinkedIn. It's very interesting. I have a lot of questions, and I'm sure for a recruiter, if you can say that, people have a lot of questions, and candidates are very interesting in knowing what recruiters think or what they are looking for. If you would like to say a little bit of introduction about yourself, something that we don't see on LinkedIn, maybe to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Well, I suppose, like you said, my background was in journalism and PR. And then I kind of moved to Dubai and I did a little bit of a pivot. I was really interested in startups. I worked at a startup in Dubai for 2 years, and I just enjoy the energy of that. I enjoy being able to wear multiple hats. So then when I, moved into the recruitment side, at the tech side, it takes a certain type of person to perform well at a startup. And most people, people are honest when they say they don't want to join a startup. They want to kind of do the 9 to 5 and go home and not worry too much. So it's a certain type of person. I believe that I'm that type of person. I enjoy that environment. So it's been fun for me to kind of find people who are also interested in that. So, that's definitely on my LinkedIn, but I guess the kind of startup, why is it like that? Where did that come from? Is just my own personal interest in startups and their journeys, I suppose.
I love the idea of someone seeing something that works for them and trying to shift towards it. I think a lot of people maybe get stuck sometimes whenever it comes to whatever they studied or where they started. They get comfortable with that. I guess you touched a little bit on enjoying the startup life. That's how you changed from journalism. Was there a moment where you said okay, this is the new lane, I like it more? Was there a moment, or was it a process?
No, well, I think to be just super transparent, I moved to the UAE with no job,
Okay.
which was a risky thing to do at the time. It's a risky thing, even more risky now, but I did it. I took the chance. You have to back yourself, right? So I did that, and I had loads of conversations on the phone with people, and there was just one startup in particular that I had a conversation with him, and I really just fell in love with the product and the concept, but more so the fact that there's so much room to be involved in lots of different things and to really lean into what it is that you're good at, even as you figure that out. So that was definitely a gradual thing for me. I definitely didn't leave Ireland thinking I'm going to go work at a startup and really enjoy that. And then I think as time has gone on, also just being more open to going with the flow of things and the fluidity, and that your career doesn't have to go one way or the other, or because you did something in college. I always say to people, if you're in the wrong room, it's better to know you're in the wrong room and walk out of it than it is to stay there for longer. And that took me a long time to figure out as well. And I think that once I did that, I was more excited about the startup side of things.
Makes a lot of sense. I think people are gonna resonate with this. A lot of people are gonna resonate with this. Let's move on a little bit towards the questions that people might be very interested in. You've seen a lot of candidates, I'm sure, maybe hundreds of them. What makes a certain person stand out? And I'm talking here about startups. What makes a person really stand out? Do you say, okay, I'm gonna take a risk on that person?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sometimes hard to answer these questions because, people are like, oh, well, that's what I do. And, but just in my experience, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's when someone feels excited about not only the product or the service or whatever it is that the company's doing, but also excited about the startup environment. That's a specific type of person. They'll normally be quite clear about that that's what they like. They like to have a lot of like autonomy. They like to come in early where, you know, they can maybe have some say in the tech stack or where it goes or what it looks like. And then, you know, people really like to have the founding whatever it is on their LinkedIn. It's good. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it does look good.
Yeah.
And I guess like being invested in something in the very beginning makes it really exciting. And then having on top of that, when you believe in it, you know, then there's you people who believe in it and they're kind of like, this could be the next big thing and I could be a part of it. And that's always a risk you take. But like having that appetite for risk is the most important. If you don't have that, especially the more senior you go, I suppose, if you don't have that appetite for risk, it's not going to work. If you're the type of person who's not going to answer a text after 5 o'clock, it's probably not going to work. You have to be like, I guess, pretty flexible. And I think in return, a lot of startups reward you with flexibility. So, you know, we all just get things done. We all like have the same level of like confidence in what we're doing, so we get things done. So when someone has that like appetite for that and they want to be involved and they get excited about it, and a lot of that is just your personality, how you come across, like the questions that you ask. It's the most important part.
I've posted a few days ago about the importance of having showcasing your personality whenever it comes to work. Like you can have the best skills possible, but if you don't showcase everything your way, like you're gonna seem like a robot to people, and you're not gonna be able to reach a spot that you'd aspire to get there. I see that. I know a lot of friends of mine that work in startups. I rarely see them, to be honest, because of how much they work. But at the same time, I think they have a lot of what do they call it? They enjoy the working in that area or that environment, because it's rewarding at the end of the day. You're creating something from scratch. So yeah. I get that. Maybe it's at some point it's gonna be a path for me as well. All right. What is something that is overrated in your opinion when it comes to hiring?
Definitely like what company the person has worked for previously. It's rated highly by everybody, myself included, because it has to be. But sometimes I feel that, you know, is it possible that you're overlooking someone who's come from a company that you've never heard of, versus like, you know, this whole thing with like Big Four and ex-Google and ex-whatever. And it's really all just words. Whereas if someone's working at a company that you've never heard of, that totally failed, they could have been way more in the deep end than the person in Google. I suppose the thing with like these big companies is that they've kind of qualified this person already. You know, this person is good. You know, they have the experience you need. But, you know, I think that maybe sometimes we overlook the people coming from the startups or the companies that we never heard of.
Love the answer. What about something that is underrated?
Like when someone doesn't have, you know, and this is a difficult one because I mean, you know, people will kind of say anything when they really need a job, and this is, you know, this
they
is
promise
what happens,
anything, yeah.
They do, and that can be difficult. But I think when someone says, like, is really honest and transparent, says, no, I don't have exactly the experience with that thing, but like here's an example of a time that I didn't have experience in something, and then I still like leaned into it and I smashed it. Like I knew what I was doing and I'm learning quick. I guess it's something you have to be careful with, because like I said, people say that and it might not necessarily be true, but I think you can really feel that when someone means it.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, over-promising happens a lot everywhere, even within the team. Like, can we do this? Yes. Can we estimate it a little bit low? Yes. But wait a minute. Yeah, it happens. All right. If I want to go to talk about a little bit about more from individuals to brands, and let me ask, what makes a good partnership with a brand? If you're an individual or another brand, what makes a good partnership?
Yeah, that's a great question. So do you mean in the sense of like the sponsorships, or do you mean like the recruitment side of things?
The sponsorship. We can go either way, but I was thinking about sponsorships.
Yeah, well, let's start with the sponsorships. I think when someone is very clear from the jump of what their objectives are when they sponsor an event, like what do you need from this? How will you judge afterwards if it was a good spend or a good like investment of your time? How are you going to know that? And the more clear someone can be about all of their expectations and goals, the better I know that like whether that will be delivered upon or not. So I think like people being clear about their expectations.
All right. If it goes back to like individuals and candidates, what is the right, how do I know I'm working with the right people?
Yeah, well, for me, it's definitely like being personable, being like someone who can, who'll answer the phone. We've really lost touch with that, just answering
True.
the phone. So for me, just like answer the phone, like we'll get this over and done in 2 minutes. I have a quick question. Let's get on and answer that. So I think that like that comes also with building like strong relationships with someone, and being also the type of person who can tell what other people need, because we communicate differently with all different people, right? Because we know
True.
their communication style. So I think when someone is good at picking up on your style and maybe mirroring that sometimes, and makes you feel like you get on, you're having a good conversation, and you even friends maybe.
The question here that I want to ask, people maybe sometimes underestimate the work of a recruiter. How important understanding psychology, understanding mental health when it comes to talking to different people, different types of people from different backgrounds, how important is it? And is that something that you do personally to understand a little bit more, learn a little bit more about this? Or is it even there among other recruiters that you've seen?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, maybe it's sometimes underrated how that it can actually be difficult, because you're dealing with like you're having maybe 20, 30, 40 conversations a day with totally different people who require totally different things from the conversation that you're having. And like you have to take that first 5 minutes to gauge, what kind of person am I dealing with? Is this someone who's, a little bit standoffish, someone who's a little bit shy that we really need to maybe get out of their shell? Is there potential I see right now that this person isn't really showcasing, but I feel it's there? So there's actually so much work into like in between all these conversations, and like what you're saying, you're thinking a lot about what this person needs from you. So yeah, I guess like the psychology of that. And if you're good at that, or if you're good at like reading into people's kind of their body language and the way they're speaking, it's definitely easier as well.
Do you think recruitment is a skill or a talent?
That's a good question. I think it's a skill. I think you can learn it. But what I don't think is a skill that you can learn is like, I think connecting with people is a talent. And being a good recruiter definitely requires that. So, it's kind of like sales and all these other things. There's definitely lots of things you can learn to be the best you can be. But there's some things that are just like innate to you, like how you connect with people.
Yeah. I've met a lot of recruiters, a lot of HR. I don't want to put recruiters under HR, but I've met a lot of people. And I've seen that it's very depending on the person and their personality and their background in terms of understanding people, knowing how to speak in a different language, even with different people. So yeah, 100%. And a successful person, I'm going to bet that they have a good personality. A successful person most probably has a good personality. What is a misconception about Dubai, or about the tech scene in Dubai, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd necessarily call it a misconception, but I'm gonna follow the train of thought that like the startup scene, there's a new startup all the time. It's AI, it's crypto, it's fintech, it's whatever. And so it kind of looks like it really is the place to be, and it definitely is. Like, but there's a lot of also startups who are starting out and they're kind of like, oh, like we want people to buy into our idea. And so then you have a lot of founders who are offering equity and they don't see the need for a salary. And so it can be it looks very glamorous from the outside, and it looks like the place to be as far as like tech and AI and startup. But you kind of have to be like careful what you're kind of filtering out there.
I've run away from some people that were talking to me about an AI startup where everything seemed fishy. So I was running away from those messages. Okay, let's say I'm interested in that area, or I'm interested in going to Dubai and working at a startup. What is something, or what are the green flags that I need to look at in terms of knowing that I'm gonna be working with good people, a good company, or some green flags?
Yeah, well, I think the most, to me, what feels obvious now, but, it's not something that I maybe would have thought of previously, but go to the company on their LinkedIn, look through who's working there and how long have they been there? Or if it's a startup, where were they before? So if you're looking at like the CTO and the CEO, where have they come from? What were they doing there? How long did they stay there? There's so much you can figure out if you go through people's background and try and map out how this person got here, and you'll figure out so much from that. And then also, there has to be transparency about like salary and package and what's that going to look like. And I don't necessarily think it always has to be in the job post, because there's a lot of reasons why that doesn't happen. But there has to be some transparency in the very early conversations about that. And if there isn't, I would be concerned for that.
So basically the normal things that people should look out for when it comes to that, and also go check the history, like do your research. Sometimes when it comes to corporate, we just figure out, okay, they're paying a good salary, let me go with them or see that. But sometimes the budget that they had for this period of time, if it's gone, your salary is gone, everything, your job is not going to be stable. All right. Let's go to a quick game. Like, I'm gonna ask you quick questions. Give me quick answers if you can, just to see what can I get out of you in terms of answers. What is the worst buzzword when it comes to CVs or LinkedIn pages?
Dynamic stands out to me.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. Best tech moment you've witnessed? Something that you've seen or something that you've been a part of?
I guess in my previous companies, like for me, just starting to learn about tech stacks and front end and back end, and watching apps be built, go from Figma to release, and was new to me. So I think it's always exciting when something gets launched and you've watched it be built.
That's nice. All right. What if you can recall a pitch that someone gave you that won you over? Is someone that is memorable, or a pitch that was memorable, if there's a story?
Yeah, I mean, you get loads of these, but there's like one software developer in particular who probably maybe last December around that time said to me, like, you might think that I can't do it, like from my CV. I know I haven't worked at the Google and these companies, but you give me anything to do and I promise I can do it. You put me in front of anyone, I'll promise I'll deliver. And people say things like that all the time, but you can, like I said earlier, sense when someone really means that and they just back themselves so deeply. And there's something like special about when that happens.
That's nice. There's always something poetic about an underdog winning. There's always something poetic about it. I'm sure I know the answer for that, but what do you value more, energy or experience?
Energy.
I figured. What is the most unexpected place where you met a candidate?
Oh, well, like if I'm at the bar,
okay,
on a night out,
someone would come to talk about it, about the job.
Well, you get, when you get talking to people, and then some of the best relationships you find them when you were never looking for them. You just start speaking to someone somewhere, so it'll always be something like that.
Yeah, like really, okay. Here's my CV. All right. When it comes to events, and what is something, who should join those events, and what do you recommend to expect whenever there is a tech event? And I've seen there's an event in Amsterdam coming soon. Okay, if you can give us a little bit about it, tell us what do you do there, and give us an insight, and what do you recommend?
Yeah, sure. So the conference you're referring to is VComp, which
Yeah.
is for V, the front end tool created by Evan Yu, who also created Vue. So he will be there. It's very much in collaboration with him. So, who goes to these? It's typically software engineers at all different stages in their career, all the way up to like CTOs and stuff like that. So I think it's a nice place to go to like connect with other people, to connect with companies. There's obviously so many companies who sponsor these events. So, people have really meaningful conversations. And then there's obviously going to be companies who have like products that appeal to software engineers. So whether, they go and they end up speaking to someone and they get a job, whether they go and they find a new tool that they really like, or they just attend like a talk or a conversation that like sparks something in them. It's for everyone who's interested in tech. So I think that also goes for like recruiters, consultancies, all these places. It's really nice to learn around other people who are also learning. I feel that you absorb information faster when other people around you are doing the same thing, if that makes sense.
There's always the saying that surround yourself with the type of people you want to be like, or the type of people you want to at some point become. So
Sure.
there's 100%. Do you think or what do you advise someone that wants to connect in a certain community, the community that is like this? Is there a certain place to go, or an advice for someone to find those people that have this type of mindset?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is to be like, and I'm just talking about outside of tech in all environments where you want to go and meet people who are like you, is be specific with your time and your energy. So like I would always say that if you're trying to meet people in a new city, for example, going to 6 meetups in a week isn't going to get you the same results as doing some research on one particular group that does one particular thing that you really resonate with, and those will be your people, because you already have a very like maybe niche thing in common, or like a really common thread that you have. So, and I'm not saying not to go to everything that you can, but I think that being specific with like, what kind of people are you looking for? What are you looking to get out of this? Are you looking for friends? Are you looking for a job? Are you looking to hire someone? Be so specific with your intentions. And then I think that like results follow you being like that.
Got you. So with intention, picking with intention.
For sure.
That was a very lovely conversation. I don't want it to end, but I wanted to ask you if is there anything specific you'd like to talk about, and finally, like a final message or something that you'd like to give people.
Yeah, well, I would love to just say that, there's so many people who are looking for jobs, right? And whether that's because they want to move somewhere, or they just need a job, they're not enjoying the current one, they've been laid off, which we see happens. Like when you want to reach out to people, it goes back to what I just said about being intentional. Like, include someone's name when you reach out to them. Make sure that you know that who they are, and you're showing them that you do.
Personalize it, yeah.
Yes, and also be so specific about what you want from the conversation with them, and don't ever just send someone like a "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah. Finally, where can people follow you? How can people reach out to you? And a little bit where people can go.
Yeah, sure. Well, my LinkedIn is probably the fastest way to get me. I'm always on there. I'm trying to make an effort to post more, so the content will come. But I always reply pretty fast there. And then my email address is emma@thegiglab as well. But LinkedIn is definitely the best.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you, Emma, so much. I really appreciate you joining me today. I'm sure this was very insightful for a lot of people, and probably is gonna get some eyes on certain areas of maybe in Dubai, startups in Dubai, or maybe the Gig Lab or other places. Emma, thank you so much for joining me. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and watching. Please follow me and keep giving me feedback on ISSNIJ everywhere on every social media. Thank you so much, and see you next time.